Hi, everyone, and welcome to How to Secure an Internship for Undergraduate Students for Spring 2024. So over the course of this presentation, I'm going to go over the best strategies and tools for you to find an internship. Okay, so we'll start off with what is an internship. So an internship is an opportunity for college students to experience an industry or a role through hands-on learning. So this is your chance to really know if something is a right fit for you. This could be maybe knowing if the right job function is for you, knowing if the industry is right for you. And so really just knowing if something is the right fit for you. This is also your opportunity to gain hands-on experience within the field and also make connections with professionals within the field. So especially if you meet people who are doing what you want to be doing after you graduate, an internship is a good opportunity to meet those professionals. You get exposure to a company. For some, this could be your foot in the door, especially if there is a certain company or organization that you really want to work for. Acquiring an internship there could be your foot in the door. You want to make sure that you have an interest in a specific role. So sometimes students may do the internship and then they find that maybe it's not the right fit for them, or maybe they find that it is the right fit, they love it, and they want to continue it after they graduate. You also learn about professionalism. So what it means to, dress professionally in the office, to write professional emails, work etiquette. So these are all things that you learn in the internship. And then this could also be your chance for a potential job in the future. So sometimes if you are doing the internship, they may extend the offer for after you graduate. Alrighty, so jumping into your internship search and applications. So when you're thinking about applying to an internship, you want to think about yourself, your interests, your skills, and how they can apply to the industry. So thinking about like, what job function do you want to be doing? What industry do you want to work in? For example, if you are majoring in human resources or business administration, almost every industry needs these roles. And so thinking about, do you want to work in entertainment? Do you want to work in healthcare? Do you want to work in education? So, picking an industry that you really like. Making sure that you do your research. So depending on what industry you are hoping to work in, they will start recruiting at a different time. For example, if you're interested in more technical fields, they tend to recruit a lot earlier. So earlier in the fall, whereas if you're interested in more creative fields, for example, like marketing, or if you're interested in education or nonprofits, they tend to recruit more in the spring. And of course, this is all information that you can find once you do your research online. Make sure that you're researching the job market. So how many internships are available at the moment, and then also researching the organizations that you want to join. For example, let's say that you really want to work for a certain company, but after doing some research about the environment, maybe you find that you don't like it and it's maybe not the right fit for you, or maybe you research the social media, the LinkedIn page, and you find that you love that this company's environment is very more informal, very casual, and that's something that you're looking for. So just making sure you're also doing that research. And then making sure that you are reading and rereading that job description. And this becomes very important later when you are offered to interview. I always recommend to save the internship description. So later when you are invited to interview and you have that job description on hand or internship description on hand, you can then use that description to prepare potential questions that they could ask you. So that's why it's important to save it. I recommend either copy and pasting it into like a Word doc that you can save, saving that page as a PDF, however you can. I just recommend saving that internship description. Alrighty. And then if you are at a stage where you're not really sure if what you know to be your next step. So maybe you want to get an internship, but you're not even sure what industry or what job function. I also want to give you all some tools so that you can kind of explore a little bit more. So one of my favorites is actually connecting majors to careers. So what you do on that site is that you can log on, pick your major, and then see what kind of like professions you could do with that major. It gives you a lot of great information as well as some strategies to get into that field. ONET and Your Next Step, also great resources so you can do more research into particular roles. So for example, if you were really interested in being a nurse, you could search nurse on Your Next Step, and then it could also, give you a whole profile of what that looks like. We also recommend reaching out to faculty, staff, and your peers. So faculty often know people working in industry if they are not working in industry themselves, so they're a really good resource. You could also speak to staff and ask about their connections or their experiences, and then your peers. So a lot of your peers have already had these internships sometimes, and so you can always ask about what they liked about it, what they did in that, and see if that's something that's the right fit for you. Other places that you can find more information are Firsthand, Indeed, and Glassdoor. So these are more like detailed about specific organizations or specific roles. So again, in my example of being a nurse, so you can go on Firsthand and you can search for this profession, and it gives you a very detailed guide of that profession. Indeed and Glassdoor can also give you some information about the organizations. So these are all some tools that you can use for your research. Okay, now where do you find the internships at USC? So after you've done your introspection, you know what job function you want to do, you know what industry. These are some places where you can look for the internships. So you can start with Connect SC. So that is our main hub where we have the internship opportunities, job opportunities, and you can actually filter. So if you're looking for like a paid internship or an unpaid internship, you can filter for both on there. You can also filter for any sort of job function or industry on Connect SC. So if you're really looking for something in one very specific industry and one very specific job function, you can filter for both on Connect SC. Other things that you should know, if you're looking for something that's like music related, Bridge is a very good resource for that, also found on Connect SC. If you're looking for environmental opportunities or environmental or sustainability opportunities, look at the environmental career opportunities. For art-related internships, you can look at Art Search, and then for opportunities in public affairs, it is written out there as what you can search on Connect SC. In addition to that, some of you, depending on what college you're a part of, you can also use other resources. So for example, if you're a part of Marshall or Price, you can also use Handshake. Annenberg has their own career sites. So just making sure that you check in with your college about what career sites you have available to you. In addition to those, I recommend attending career fairs. So we recently had the DEI Recruiting Expo. Last semester, we had the Veterans and Military Families Recruiting Night. Tomorrow, February 8th, we have our career fair. And then also keep a lookout for the college-specific career fair. So Viterbi's is today, for example, February 7th, and Marshall and Annenberg will also be having their own. You can also learn about opportunities through our workshops. So for example, right now, I'm letting you know about these events that we have. A lot of organizations also do coffee chats with us, which is a more one-on-one opportunity to meet with organizations. Again, attending our career fairs, we have one every spring and every fall. Industry Insights is another good way to learn about opportunities. So we have 4 upcoming this year, but this is your chance to learn from the professionals directly. At each Industry Insight, we have a panel of professionals speaking about their industry. For example, we have some upcoming ones for marketing. And so that's a good chance to learn about what it's like to work in the marketing industry at their specific organizations. And so it's a really good opportunity to learn from them. And then that's something that you can then also mention in your cover letter. So if you attended an Industry Insight, you later applied to that job or internship, you can mention that in your cover letter just to say, I learned about this through the Industry Insights that you were a part of, and I really loved everything you said. And then the last thing is Trojan Talks. So Trojan Talks are when employers, recruiters, they come here or they host something virtually, and it kind of varies in what they're talking about. Sometimes it's an information session. Sometimes it is professional development workshop. So it varies on what they want to come and talk about, but this is a really good chance to learn more about the organization. especially if there's a certain organization you really want to work for and you see that they're coming here for a children talk. That's a great opportunity to talk to them and learn about their opportunities. Okay, now learning about some external resources to find internships. So one is Paragon One. So Paragon One is more like remote internships. They're all remote internships and they call them externships. But they are a normal internship. It's the only difference is that it's remote. They tend to be a little bit more business focused, but I have seen other industries on there as well. So check that out. Parker Dewey has micro internships. So a micro internship is when a organization will post like a project and they'll say they need help with it and you complete the project in different time commitments. So for example, a project may take 2 days, another project may take 3 weeks. It really varies in time commitment. And so you can find one that maybe only takes 2 days because that's all the time you have, and then you can complete it, and then you've completed a micro internship. So the cool thing about this is that it is paid. So these are all paid micro internships. You can put them on your resume as a professional experience because you are being paid for this work as internship experience. And this is open to both like domestic and international students. You can also look on LinkedIn Jobs. A lot of companies now post on LinkedIn Jobs when they are hiring for internships. I typically recommend to students to follow any organizations that they really want to work for on LinkedIn. They'll often announce when they're going to be opening internship applications. If you are interested in consulting, Forage and Management Consulted are good opportunities for you. So with Forage, it is a 6-hour experience that you do on your own time. So you can do it in one sitting or you can do it over the course of 6 weeks, however you like. But it's a good chance to see if consulting is right for you. So if you're thinking about doing consulting or a consulting internship, but you're not sure if consulting is right for you or you don't even know what it entails, Forage gives you a pretty real feeling case study. And so you run through this like consulting case on your own, and if it feels like it wasn't the right fit, well, now you know, and it was free, right? Or some students complete it and after the 6 hours, they loved it, they want to continue it, and they figure out that consulting is what's right for them. And Forge is actually put together by some pretty big name companies. So for example, Chase helped build it as well as like BCG, I believe. And so you're getting a certificate built by these big name companies. And then Management Consulted, another great resource if you're interested in consulting. They have like all of the deadlines there for like upcoming internships, as well as job opportunities. You can also read more information about the consulting companies. So if you've never heard of one, for example, that would be a good place to do some research. Or if you have heard of it, but you're not really sure what the culture is like, again, another good place to do that research. And if you're an international student, I also wanted to go over some resources for you. One of them that I think is my favorite is Interstride. So with Interstride, you can find internships with companies that have historically offered sponsorship. And then this is actually a site that's built by international students for international students. Going global, if you're open to opportunities abroad, that's a really good place to look for these opportunities abroad. And then F1 Hire is not a place to look for internships, but again, if you're an international student and you want an easier way to know if a company sponsors or has historically sponsored, F1 Hire is like a Google Chrome extension that you can put to give you that information. Alrighty. And then once you have found these internships and you've done your research, you want to make sure you have a final draft of your resume, your cover letter, and your references page. So your resume, you can come to drop-ins and we can always take a look at it. We're open from 1 to 3:30. You could also use our VMock, which is our AI that reviews your resume. It's a pretty good resource. And the advice it gives you is pretty on par with what an advisor would say. It also gives you line by line feedback. And in addition to that, you can also build a resume on there. So if you've never built one before, or you have one, but you're not really sure you should be using it anymore, you want to start from scratch, VMOC is a good place to do that. It has like a template you can use on there to build it. Super easy and super helpful. We also have a booklet that I will give you in the next slide, but it's called Effective Resumes, Cover Letters, and LinkedIn Profiles. If you're someone that learns from examples, this is a really good resource for you. It has example resumes, an example cover letter, an example CV. It has advice for your LinkedIn profile, so it's a really great resource. You also want to make sure you're writing a cover letter. A common question that I get is, do I really need a cover letter? And the answer is yes. Think about it like you don't know how many people are submitting the cover letter, and you don't know how much the hiring manager will look at the cover letter. So, for example, there are some hiring managers that if you don't submit a cover letter, they may not even consider you as a candidate. So just to be on the safe side, it's better to submit that cover letter. And then your references page. So this isn't something that you necessarily submit to your applications, but it's something that you want to have on hand and ready. So typically once you are offered a internship, they will ask to speak to your references. And so you just want to make sure that you have their names or contact information, like their email, their phone number, and maybe their current like title and place of work. So that when you give your references to your new employer, they know who they're calling, and you have that information on hand. Something else to note is you want to make sure that you're asking your references if they can be your references. You don't want to run into an awkward situation where they call your reference and you haven't spoken to them in 3 years. So just make sure that they are aware that you are putting them as a reference and that they are comfortable with that. Alrighty, and then that's the booklet that I spoke about. So if you follow that QR code, you will see that we have a booklet with the examples I spoke about. Okay. Now, in addition to all of this, I would also recommend networking, as well as setting up some informational interviews with possibly your peers or others in the organization you want to work for. And you can network with anybody. So you can connect with your friends, your family, your professors, your classmates, your mentors, alumni, and just let them know that you are exploring, internship opportunities. Don't ask for an internship right off the bat, but just make sure that you are letting them know what you're working on right now and what you're looking for, and they may keep you in mind later. You can also reach out to USC alums through Georgia Network or through LinkedIn, and you can ask for advice or informational interviews. So if you've never done an informational interview or you've never heard of an informational interview, that's kind of a reverse interview. So you reach out to someone and you say, hey, I see that you're working for Google. I really want to work there. Could we hop on the phone really quickly so I can learn about your path to working at Google? And it's something as simple as that. You're just trying to get to know them and get to know their path, and keep it very simple and genuine. But as you're networking with people, just make sure you are being yourself and you're being genuine in your connections. Think about like when you meet people, if someone seems disingenuous, you don't really want to connect with them anymore. And so the same thing applies to networking, just making sure that you are yourself, you're being honest with them, and that's going to be your best bet for networking. Alrighty, so securing the internship final steps. So once you have applied and you're invited to interview, you want to make sure that you are researching the company before you get to the interview. So just make sure you know about what kind of work that they're doing, what is the mission of the company. Remember that job description I mentioned? This is when it would be very helpful. So the job description will help you prepare because you'll know what kind of tasks you'll be doing, what kind of questions they may ask you. You also want to make sure that you are practicing. So some ways you can do that is through Big Interview. That's another one of our AIs available on Connect SC, where it will record you. And it's actually an AI person that's asking you the questions, and they're industry specific questions. So it's a very good tool to practice your interviewing skills. You could also set up a mock interview appointment, or you can practice in the mirror, but just making sure that you are saying your answers out loud and feeling confident in yourself before you get to the interview. Also, I recommend that you always have questions ready for them before you get there. So the research that you're doing on the company and the role, this is going to help you craft some questions that you can ask them after the interview. And then you also want to make sure that you have a thank you note. You want to send that at most 1 to 2 days after. And just thank them for their time, keep it simple. If there's anything you feel like didn't go well, that's also something you can address in your thank you note. But again, this goes a long way. Something common I've heard is, do I really need to send one? That everyone cares about it. But again, just better to be on the safe side. People do notice when you send it and they notice when you don't. So, just something to consider, but we definitely recommend sending one. And once you have an internship offer, you also want to make sure that you have all of these things before you accept. So you want to make sure you know the name of the company and specific department that you're going to be working for. You want to know your internship title and internship supervisor. And these are important because let's say that you applied for an internship and you interviewed, and then the title that you're given is different from what you had applied for, or the department that you're given is different from what you applied for. You just want to make sure that you are signing up for the right thing that you had interviewed for. You want to make sure you know your internship start and stop dates. This sometimes could interfere with your schoolwork, the start of the semester, or if you're taking summer classes, it could interfere with that as well. You want to know your work schedule. So what days and times are you going to be working? And then is this going to be paid or unpaid? If it is paid, making sure you know how much you should be getting, and then how often. So is it once a week, once a month, what that looks like. And then sometimes certain industries require optional legal disclosures, for example, an NDA. And so if that's something that you need to sign, just make sure you're aware of that. And if you don't have all of this information in writing, make sure that you ask the HR about that. Or if you do have it, but maybe the department is different, the internship title is different, again, bring that up to HR to make sure that you are accepting the correct role. Alrighty, and then self-care tips for the internship search. This process may seem like a long, tedious process, so make sure that you do give yourself some grace. And just know that everyone's path is going to be different. Sometimes you'll talk to your peers and they say that they only applied to one internship and that's the one that they got. Others may apply to 20 and then, eventually they're offered one. So just know it's going to look different for everybody. And then make sure that you're managing your time well. I always recommend having a spreadsheet of what you're applying to. And then celebrate your small wins. So if you're invited to interview, that's a win. If you submitted an application, that's a win. And then prioritizing downtime. So if you do have any downtime, making sure you're taking care of yourself. And then know that it's okay to ask for help. So we're always here if you want to make an appointment or come to drop-ins. And I also included the link there for USC Counseling and Mental Health, if that is something you also can utilize or want to utilize. Alrighty, and then we also have summer scholarships available to those who do an unpaid internship. So we have the USC Dream Dollar Scholarship, which is $1,500 for students who are looking to work in a nonprofit or government agency. And then we have the First Gen Scholarship for students who are first gen students, and this could be in any industry. And the deadline is coming up on April 10th. So just something to consider. And then these are not all of our events, but I did want to highlight some of them. We have our career fair coming up on February 8th. and then mock interview night, February 15th. And I did want to also highlight our resource roadmap. So this is some of the things that I talked about today. If you want to see it at a glance, this is a good way to see that. And that is all I have for you today. One last piece of advice that I didn't mention during the resume part is making sure that you are spending time to, tailor everything. Again, utilizing your resources like BMOC or the booklet will help you tailor your resume and your cover letter for every application. Again, it is tedious, but you will have better results when you have quality applications submitted for every internship. And then also making sure you can visit us during drop-ins, but making sure you have a second pair of eyes on your resume and cover letter and application materials. So that could be us during drop-ins, or that could be a friend or faculty or anyone to look at it. We're available Monday through Friday, 1 to 3:30 for drop-ins. And you could also always email us your questions. I have the 2 links there, or emails there. And then on our website, we have a lot of tools and resources for you as well. And then this is the internship engagement team and myself, Liz, at the top, if you need to email me. We are also on social media. We're very funny. I would recommend following us there as well. And with that, thank you so much for joining me for this workshop.